Well, hello Science Warriors. Welcome to our next video in our flipped classroom experience. Today we're doing part 3 of our unit on elements and compounds, entitled Formation of New Substances. Our EQ is what evidence can be used to identify the formation of a new substance from a possible chemical change. So let's get started. So a little introduction, chemical change versus physical change. A physical change is when you have ingredient A, so this first item or first substance, and you combine it with substance B. What comes out is a mixture of both A and B. Okay? It's a combination. It's a mixture. When you have a chemical change, you have substance A combined with substance B to make a whole new one called substance C. Okay, this is totally different from the original ingredients and can have different properties than the original ingredients as well. So what I'd like you to do real quick is pause the video, and on page 16 of your journal, so if this is your journal, this is 17, the blank page is 16, copy this down. City girls love their phones. City stands for color change reactions. Girls stands for gases being emitted during a reaction. L stands for light given off by a reaction. There stands for temperature change during a reaction. And then phone stands for precipitate formed. Now you need to go to your foldable entitled Evidence of Chemical Changes Foldable. Evidence of Chemical Change. Once you open up the first two folds, it should look like this, and we're going to fill in this information here. Would like for you to put a full list of examples of chemical and physical changes that you see here on the slide. You may pause the video so that you can write all of these in those sections. Some examples for chemical would be things like rusting, burning, and bubbling. But physical is anything that usually changes the size or state of matter of an object. So breaking, cutting, chopping, boiling, freezing, and melting are all physical changes to a substance. Now let's go ahead and open up our foldable all the way to the main page. So when we unfold everything, you get the magnifying glass, and we're going to fill in all of this information. So the first one is production of gases. In this section, please write down that if two reactants combine, bubbles can form indicating a gas being produced. So an example, it would be vinegar mixed with baking soda. This will be seen in our lab that we perform in class on Wednesday. So kind of to have you see what that looks like, substance A plus substance B, when they mix, you get a bubbling effect. Okay, this indicates that a new substance, which is a gas, which has different properties than the solid and the liquid ingredients, has been formed. The next way that we can tell a chemical change has occurred is through change of color. This is usually happening when the pH of a solution changes and the color therefore changes. We can also get a color change from when new substances are made, such as with your example of an iron nail that has rusted. An iron nail starts off looking like this. Over time, as it is exposed to the atmosphere as well as moisture, it can begin to rust, and you notice that the color has changed because of the new substance called iron oxide or rust has formed. The next section is for temperature change. If we notice a change in temperature because of two substances coming in contact with each other, then we know that a chemical change has occurred. So this is when two substances of the same temperature combine and generate heat or the feeling of cold. Cold, of course, is when a reaction is absorbing heat from the surrounding area. So there technically is no such thing as something becoming cold. It is just absorbing heat. Now, one thing to notice is that melting freezing, and boiling are physical changes. We are adding heat or taking away heat from something to cause it to change its form, making it physical. So our example can be hand warmers. Many football players, especially if you watch the quarterback of different NFL teams, they have a little sack around their waist. They put their hands inside, and inside of there they will have something like this. When this object is reacting, we get heat, and it can help keep your hands warm. Now the next example of next piece of evidence that can prove that a chemical change has occurred is when light is given off. So we have a number of different examples, but when a substance is reacting very rapidly, so things are changing very quickly back and forth, from one thing to the next, we can get a light being emitted from that reaction. So one example is, of course, glow sticks. Glow sticks are the easiest light reactions we can try to remember. You can also notice that fire, this kind of chemical reaction, actually something burning, does give off light, but it also gives another form of energy called heat. The glow sticks don't necessarily give off heat during their reaction, or at least not anything noticeable by us. So there's different degrees of light versus heat that can be formed in one of these type of reactions. The next is a little bit more difficult. We don't usually pay attention to these as often, but this is one example of a chemical change happening, is when what is called a precipitate forms. A precipitant is an insoluble compound, so it does not dissolve in the liquid solution that it surrounds it. This compound forms out of the solution. So if I take substance A, which is a liquid, and substance B, which is also a liquid, and mix them together, when they react together, they will form a new compound, which then separates itself from the liquids, and sometimes, or many times, it will settle to the bottom of whatever container we have it in. So one example is silver chloride. When this is formed, we get the kind of almost like a solid precipitate that forms, even though we're surrounded by a mixture of the two liquids. The amount of solid that is formed is based on the amount of the ingredients, as well as the speed of the reaction, since some reactions will be slower or faster depending on their reactivities. So that should finish up everything that is in your evidence of chemical change foldable. So what I would like for you to do is to now switch over to the previous foldable on page 15 of your journal, the formation of a new substance foldable. Open it up all the way. So we're going to open up this fold, and we're also going to open up this fold until we get to the very center. Down here at the bottom, there's a section called Name which type of changes occurs below. I want you to, using the knowledge you have just gained and used in your first foldable, try to decide whether or not the reactions, or I'm sorry, not the reactions, but the mixtures that are being put together are chemical or physical. Make sure you try your best. It's okay that you may not get the correct answer, but that is it is important that you at least try using the knowledge you have now gained. Now after this, after you have completed those 5 sections, I want you to copy the information that is in red in the next 2 images into your foldable about the formation of a new substance. So again, we're talking this foldable, not the one we just filled in. I want you to make sure you copy that red information exactly where it goes. So you may need to pause the video in order to copy everything down that you see that is in red. Here is the first. And here is the second. You may also check your answers from your assignment to see if you got them correct. Alright, Science Warriors, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you have found it helpful. If you get the chance to watch this video before our lab on Wednesday, it can prove to be very helpful. But we are going to use the moniker City Girls Love Their Phones to help us in tomorrow's lab to identify whether or not a physical or chemical change has occurred. If you have any questions, of course, contact me through email, Google Classroom, or through the Remind app, and I'd be glad to help you. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Peace.